So how long did you learn? How long did you...
Well, I had to do basic Chinese medicine to start because, in China, before they even go into, like, acupuncture or herbal medicine or whatever it is, then there's obviously all the fundamentals that you have to learn. So we had I took a class with one other American girl and learned all the basics, like the meridians and the concepts and the preventative medicine and how to keep your body in balance.
So over there, I mean, is that more widely studied than like what, say, doctors and health professionals study over here?
It's probably about even nowadays, I would say. But I would say then it was more Chinese than Western medicine.
Well, so why do you think then... I mean, do you think that the Chinese feel like their traditional medicine served them well?
Yeah.
I mean, why let Western medicine in then?
There is an understanding among Chinese people that it is like... for chronic diseases to prevent, unhealthy stuff from happening to your body, you use Chinese medicine. For acute care, for, surgeries like appendicitis or something, you're going to go to a Western hospital. Chinese medicine, or like asthma or, diabetes or something like that, you're going to go to a Chinese hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's, there's like no question in their minds.
Huh. So that's how, really over there, that's how they approach medicine. Preventative first, and then, car wreck or break your leg or whatever, then you use Western.
Well, for something like a ruptured spleen or something internal that needs, like, traumatic...
Right.
I don't know, some kind of a traumatic treatment, then that would be Western medicine. But for... the Chinese are, like, the best bone setters in history.
Really?
So... Yeah, when I was there, my friend got hit by a car, and I remember she was in the hospital for probably 6 weeks, because they had reset her bone, and she, I still talk to her today, and she doesn't have any trouble with that leg at all.
Huh.
Yeah.
Like, how badly was it?
I don't know, it was a compound fracture. I don't know if it was, open or anything, but...
She was treated the Chinese way.
Yeah, yep, she was treated in the Chinese way for a broken bone. Uh-huh. Yeah. And, I always went by what my professor said, obviously, like, not knowing any history about it. And it was like, there was no real question among Chinese people about, well, I break a bone, I go here. This happens, I go there.
Right. Would you say overall, in your time in China and stuff, are the people more healthy there, or?
No. Because of the pollution and the smoking, and there's like such a desire for them wanting to be Western that there's almost there's such a fundamental understanding of that balance that they try to find within themselves and between themselves and nature and between themselves and other people, but it's there's such a push and a drive among, like, Generation Xers and, the younger generations to Westernize that I think that they're rejecting some of that.
What about, I don't know if you've noticed a difference, but is there a difference between, say, the cities and when you've traveled to the rural places in terms of, maybe even not just the health, but just, like, the general...
Yeah, well... Yeah, the difference is that people in the cities are so concerned about material things and making money, and then you go into the countryside and they have nothing, but they're happy and they're welcoming, and, granted, they might have a really hard life and maybe their life is shorter, but it's like they're so much more internally happy with their lives than the people who have moved to the cities to make money.
Yeah.
That was where I first started thinking, like, maybe this isn't all there is to the world,
Right.
I remember having nothing in one of those, when we were teaching English in, like, some way out, farm country area, and the families were just so much happier, and there was, that sense of community, that you definitely didn't have in the cities.
Okay, so anyway, traditional Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So you studied for how long?
The fundamentals, maybe 3 months. And then the Chinese herbal medicine for a year.
For a year.
And then
but
when I went back, I was studying one specific medicine of the Chinese medicines that whole time. Mm-hmm. Yep. That liver treatment. You know, I think I told you about this teacher before because he used to be like, this medication is for constipation.
Ah!
This medication is for diarrhea. Oh. And when I first, I mean, like, he said it with such an accent and, like, put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. There were a couple times where I had no clue what he was saying, so then I'd be like, oh, constipation. Do you want to write that one down for me? And then I'd be like, oh, constipation! Oh, man. Yeah, but anyways, he, when I went back over, when I got that grant to like, find some medicine that we didn't have in the United States and try to package it and bring it back, and he was like, well, I know exactly what you need to bring back because you don't have any treatment for hepatitis in the United States to actually cure it. We have a cure. And I was like, yeah, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And so we started talking about it and got really in-depth in it. And, of course, the liver is where you store your anger. Well, if you're angry, then, it affects your liver. And there's all these different other factors that are going on. But this medication that, he had me gather was, I asked him, is it a treatment for hepatitis A? And he's like, yes. And I was like, well, is it for all hepatitis or, hepatitis B? Or do you guys differentiate? He's like, yeah, it's for A and B and C and D and E. And I was like, okay. That's all of them. Aww. But, because there's, like, in Western medicine, A is very different than B because of the way they're transmitted.
Right.
Or C.
Well, so what was this thing?
It is, it's sedum, the little succulent plants that grow around.
It's
just SEDUM.
Sedum.
Yep.
And it was whatever ended up happening with that, I mean, did it...
Oh, I brought kilos back. I mean, literally. We put them in these huge, like, boxes as big as this table, and I shipped them to Butler, to one of my professors there, because that way it was, legit research medicine, and I had gathered tons and tons of them. I mean, he took me to the spot where, in Chinese medicine, in order to gather certain parts of the plant, they have to be gathered during certain times of the year. It has to be on this facing slope.
Right.
And, you got to get for the most potent or whatever best quality.
I think that's the same in like aromatherapy and stuff like that. Is
exactly.
If you don't harvest it at the right time,
exactly.
Then it's
you're not going to have the essential oils or
it's just not going to be as potent or whatever. So So you went and you did research on it, and then
Yep, I sent it all back to the United States to, we were going to analyze it and find out what the different chemical constituents were in it, and then Eli Lilly cut off the funding. I mean,
were you given a reason or anything?
They decided to completely do away with their herbal research department.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they moved into biotech, and they haven't, I don't think they've done anything with herbal medicine since.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It makes me feel sad inside.
I know.
I mean, it's nice that they were thinking about it. What do you think is the reason why? I mean, do you think it's just because of profits?
Well, because it's really hard to patent something like that.
Right.
When I brought it back to them, I was like, it turns out that, the research has already been done on this. I found this article, and there are 32 constituents in this plant. And they're like, okay, tell me which one is the one we need to use to treat hepatitis. So I emailed back and forth with my professor, and he was like, it's not, and it's the plant.
That's that's what I'm. I mean, do you believe that? Do you believe that? Because as a pharmacist, I mean, you deal with chemicals a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And so many times there's like in beauty, even in beauty products, they take this one thing and they extract this one thing, and they still call it natural. But you're changing the composition of what you're actually. I mean,
you're losing that balance,
right?
Well, that's why I think Western medicine is so potent and has so many side effects. Because for whatever reason, we think we can look at this one little receptor and say, I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit that really hard, and that's going to probably treat your symptoms. You know, and in Chinese medicine, they're like, no, I'm going to give you a little bit of all of this, and I'm going to mix it with this to balance it out, and this to make sure, you know, that these side effects don't happen. And then you're going to have this whole nice balance that you're putting in your system, you know. And Western medicine is like, we're going to treat that one symptom and then find out what happens. And, okay, so now you're going to need to add this other thing on, and we're still doing cocktails with all of our medicine.
Right.
But it's because it's so, you know, it's so isolated, and we're trying to look at these little tiny, you know, little pieces of the problem, and Chinese medicine is looking at the whole person.
Right.
I mean, really, it's such a difference. It's like a big picture concept versus something under a microscope and getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, do you think that we can incorporate TCM into our lives without the whole thing? You know what I mean? Like these remedies and stuff like that.
Yes. I don't think it's all or nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like the same thing we were talking about before. When I started doing Chinese medicine, I didn't jump full force into it. It was like one of those, you know, small step things. And because, I mean, granted, I was a little bit skeptical. I mean, I definitely believe in herbal medicine, but I wasn't really
What's the difference? What's the difference between TCM and just herbalism?
Well, all of pharmacy is originally based on herbology. You know, so many of our most potent medications have come from herbal sources.
Right.
But I mean, now the shift that Western medicine has done is biotechnology. So they're looking at what the receptor is shaped like on the cell and designing something to fit into that versus going from a natural source and seeing where it goes.
How many of our drugs right now are like that?
The biotech? Maybe like 10 to 20%. I mean, it's
what
not
are some
a
of
huge
the
portion.
What are some of the main?
All the cancer medications that are coming out now. Imogen,
including the
Avastin,
one at. Wait, now I can't remember what it's called. Avastin.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a biotech. Yeah, and you know, a lot of times they're trying to find the genes and whatever proteins are made by that gene, and then turn off that gene. So it's almost like they're